Family, let me tell you something right now. You were not created to break under pressure. You were not placed on this earth to be defeated by fear, shame, or doubt. No, you were handcrafted by God, intentionally designed with strength that even the storms of life can't wash away, but I know. Sometimes negative feelings creep in. They whisper lies to your soul, telling you you're not enough, that you can't make it, that you're stuck. Yet deep down, there's a power inside of you that's been waiting to rise up and speak louder than those lies. Today, we're going to tear down every wall of negativity, every chain of self-doubt, and we're going to step boldly into the truth. You were created for this. This moment, this challenge, this fight. It was meant to reveal the unstoppable force God placed in you. You were not born by accident. Long before you took your first breath, before anyone ever spoke your name, before you ever opened your eyes to see the light of day, there was already a divine blueprint written over your life. Every detail, every characteristic, every skill and talent within you was carefully placed there by a creator who knew exactly what you would face. Sometimes we look at our struggles, our hardships, and we think, why me? Why does it have to be this hard? But what if I told you that every challenge you've been through was already accounted for in your design? That you were crafted, molded, and prepared to handle exactly what you're walking through right now? Think about this for a moment. When an architect builds a bridge, they don't design it for calm weather only. They engineer it to withstand storms, heavy winds, and the weight of traffic that will pass over it for decades. That's how God designed you. He didn't create you fragile. He built you with resilience, strength, and spiritual endurance so that when the pressures of life push against you, you don't collapse. You may bend, but you won't break. You may stumble, but you won't stay down. Inside of you is a structure fortified by divine wisdom, meant to carry you through every battle and every valley you will ever face. So often, negative feelings cloud our vision. They make us believe we're weak, incapable, unworthy. That voice in your head says you don't have what it takes. But that's a lie. The truth is, you've been equipped since day one. Even the situations that felt like they were going to destroy you, they were actually shaping you, revealing the hidden strength you didn't know you had. Every tear you cried watered the soil of your growth. Every time your heart broke, it stretched your capacity to feel, to empathize, to love deeper. Every obstacle was a training ground, preparing you for moments you couldn't see yet. Let's think about a seed for a moment. A seed is tiny, looks insignificant, yet it holds within it a tree that can grow tall, withstand winds, and provide shade for others. But before that seed can ever become a tree, it must be buried in darkness. It has to go through pressure beneath the soil, unseen, uncelebrated, struggling to push roots down deep before it ever reaches for the sky. You've had moments like that, seasons where you felt buried, overlooked, maybe even forgotten. But you weren't buried to stay down, you were planted, and what's been growing in you during those dark times is the strength and resilience needed to rise and flourish. You were designed to grow, to push through the dirt, to find the light no matter how heavy the darkness felt. Some of you think your past disqualifies you from purpose. Maybe you've made mistakes, faced rejection, or felt abandoned. But hear me clearly. Nothing about your past has taken God by surprise. The same God who formed you in your mother's womb knew every setback you would encounter, and yet He still called you chosen. He still said you're worthy. Why? Because your value isn't determined by your failures. It's determined by your Creator. And your Creator does not make mistakes. If you're still breathing, it's because there's still purpose inside of you that has yet to be unleashed. I need you to stop seeing yourself through the lens of your pain and start seeing yourself through the lens of your design. You are stronger than you think. Your spirit is not fragile, it's fierce. Your mind was not made to stay trapped in negativity. It was made to create, to imagine, to believe, to overcome. That voice that says you're not enough. It's only loud because it knows the power you carry once you truly believe who you are, and who you are is someone designed with intentionality, destined to win and equipped for victory. Every gift inside you, every ounce of strength, every ability, it's not random. Your courage, even when it feels small, was put there to rise in moments of fear. Your compassion, even when it feels like it's been taken advantage of, was put there to heal and connect with others. Your ability to bounce back even when you felt like you couldn't take another step, that's not coincidence, that's your divine engineering. Life may have tried to convince you that you're broken or incomplete, but you are not missing anything you need to fulfill your purpose. You already have it. There's a power inside of you that only awakens when you're under pressure. That's why sometimes life feels so heavy. It's not because you're weak, but because pressure is required to bring out your true strength. Diamonds don't form without pressure. Gold isn't purified without fire. And just like that, your challenges have been refining you, sharpening you, making you stronger than you realize. So, instead of believing the negative feelings that tell you can't handle it, remember this truth: you were built for it. You were created with the endurance to stand tall in adversity and the wisdom to navigate through it. You've survived things you once thought would destroy you. Look back at your life for a moment. Think about the moments when you thought, "I'll never get through this." But here you are, you're still standing. That's proof that there's something unbreakable in you. Something that cannot be defeated by feelings of fear, shame, or doubt. It's a spiritual backbone, a divine strength, a resilience that was wired into your very being. And if you made it through what you thought would take you out, that means there is nothing ahead of you that you are not equipped to handle. When you start to see yourself this way, negative feelings lose their power. They may show up, but they can't stay. They can't define you because you know who you are. You're not weak, you're not lost, you're not broken. You're divinely designed with purpose, and because of that, you can rise above any emotion, any challenge, and any fear that tries to hold you back. Negative feelings have a way of gripping the mind so tightly that they distort reality. They convince you that the worst thoughts you're having must be true. When you wake up with worry, carry fear throughout the day, or battle discouragement late at night, it's easy to believe you're powerless to change how you feel. But feelings are not permanent. They are visitors that pass through your mind. And just because they arrive doesn't mean you have to hand them the keys to your life. The power to shift your entire emotional state begins in your mindset. The thoughts you allow to take root, the beliefs you choose to nurture, and the inner dialogue you speak over yourself daily. Your mind is the most powerful tool you possess. Everything you experience, every emotion, every reaction, every decision, it all begins in your thoughts. If your mind is filled with doubt, negativity, and fear, it's only natural that your feelings will follow. But when you learn to take control of your thoughts, to redirect them with intention, you unlock a power that transforms not just how you feel, but how you live. This is why renewing your mind is not optional. It's necessary if you want to break free from cycles of negativity that have been holding you hostage. Think about it like this: your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant in it, whatever you water and nurture, that's what will grow. If you plant seeds of doubt, constantly telling yourself you can't do it, you're not enough, or you'll never change, those seeds will take root. They'll grow into weeds that choke out your potential and keep you stuck. But the moment you start planting seeds of faith, hope, and possibility, even if they feel small at first, you begin to change the entire atmosphere of your inner world. Over time, those positive seeds grow stronger and the weeds of negativity lose their grip. It's not enough to simply wish for better feelings. You must deliberately choose new thoughts even when it feels unnatural. When fear says you can't handle this, you counter it with "I am equipped for everything I face." When self-doubt whispers you're not worthy, you declare "I am chosen, I am valuable, and I am capable." The more you repeat these truths, the more your mind begins to believe them. And once your mind believes something, your feelings have no choice but to follow. There's a science to this as well. Our brains are wired to create pathways for repeated thoughts. If you constantly dwell on negativity, your brain strengthens those pathways, making it easier to think negative thoughts automatically. But the good news is, your brain is also capable of change. It's called neuroplasticity, the ability to rewire itself. Every time you intentionally replace a negative thought with a positive, empowering one, you're building a new pathway. At first, it might feel difficult, like trying to walk through a thick forest where there's no trail. But every time you take that step, you're clearing a new path. Eventually, that path becomes well-worn, and thinking positive, empowering thoughts becomes your natural default. Consider how many times negative feelings have stopped you from moving forward in life. Maybe you wanted to start a new project, apply for a promotion, or step out in faith toward a dream, but fear convinced you to stay small. The mindset shift begins when you recognize that fear is simply a thought. It's not a prophecy. It doesn't tell the truth about who you are or what's possible for you. The only power fear has is the power you give it by continuing to think the same limiting thoughts over and over again. When you interrupt that pattern and choose new thoughts, thoughts of courage, determination, and possibility, you break fear's hold. Changing your mindset also requires you to become aware of the story you've been telling yourself. Every one of us has an inner narrative running constantly in our minds. That story can either empower us or imprison us. Maybe your story has been, "I've always struggled with this and I'll never change," or "I'm not as talented as others, so I'll always be behind." Those stories aren't facts. They're beliefs you've repeated until they feel real. To overcome negative feelings, you must rewrite your story. Start speaking to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love who needs encouragement. Remind yourself of the battles you've already won, the challenges you've already overcome, and the potential you know deep down is still inside you. One of the most powerful ways to shift your mindset is through gratitude. It's impossible to stay trapped in negativity when you're actively focusing on what's good in your life. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing to see the blessings even in the midst of difficulty. When you wake up and immediately direct your mind toward what you're thankful for, you set the tone for your entire day. That small shift pulls your focus away from what's missing and onto what's possible. Over time, it retrains your brain to naturally look for solutions instead of problems, hope instead of despair. Visualization is another tool that strengthens a positive mindset. When you close your eyes and vividly imagine yourself overcoming obstacles, succeeding, and walking confidently in your purpose, your brain begins to align with that vision. It can't distinguish between what's vividly imagined and what's real, so it starts building beliefs that support that picture. Negative feelings often come from imagining worst-case scenarios over and over. Visualization flips that process and creates a mental blueprint of victory that your mind and emotions begin to follow. Mindset shifts also require persistence. Negative feelings don't vanish overnight because they've been nurtured for so long. Think of it like trying to turn a massive ship in the ocean. It doesn't spin around instantly. It takes consistent effort, repeated steering, and time. Every day you replace a negative thought with a positive one. Every time you speak faith instead of fear. Every moment you choose to believe you are made for more, you're turning that ship. Eventually, the direction of your entire life begins to change because your mindset has changed. Your environment plays a role too. Surround yourself with people who speak life into you, who believe in your potential, and who refuse to feed your negative feelings. If you constantly listen to voices that reinforce fear, doubt, or failure, it's nearly impossible to change your mindset. But when you're connected to voices that uplift you, challenge you, and remind you of your purpose, it becomes easier to stay focused on empowering thoughts. Overcoming negative feelings doesn't mean you'll never feel discouraged again. Feelings will still come and go. The difference is that with a renewed mindset, you won't be ruled by them. Instead of being swept away by fear, you'll recognize it for what it is, a fleeting thought, and redirect your focus. Instead of drowning in discouragement, you'll know how to anchor yourself in faith and truth. And every time you do that, you weaken negativity's grip a little more until it can no longer control your actions or your destiny. Feelings are powerful. They can shift the way we see ourselves, influence the choices we make, and even shape the future we walk into. But feelings, as strong as they may seem in the moment, are not the ultimate truth. They are like waves in the ocean, rising high one moment and crashing low the next. If you try to live your life based on how you feel, you'll find yourself constantly tossed around, never stable, never certain of where you're heading. Faith, on the other hand, is the anchor that holds you steady when your emotions are pulling you in every direction. It's the voice that says, I know what it looks like, I know what it feels like, but I trust there's something greater at work. There are moments in life where everything inside you screams that it's over, that you can't make it, that the weight is too heavy to carry. Maybe you've felt abandoned, betrayed, or forgotten. Maybe you've prayed for change and waited so long that hopelessness started to creep in. Those feelings are real, and it's important to acknowledge them. But acknowledging your feelings is not the same as surrendering to them. Faith is choosing to stand on what you believe, even when your feelings are shouting the opposite. Faith isn't about ignoring reality or pretending you're not hurting. It's about choosing to believe that your current feelings and circumstances do not define the final outcome. Feelings are temporary, faith is eternal. When you're overwhelmed with fear, faith whispers courage. When sadness feels suffocating, faith breathes hope. When doubt tries to convince you that you're not enough, faith declares that you are chosen, capable, and destined for victory. There's a story inside every person where feelings try to take control. Maybe there was a time you felt unworthy of love or incapable of success. Maybe you stood on the edge of giving up because your emotions were drowning out every other voice. But somewhere deep inside, even if it was just a flicker, faith spoke. It reminded you of the battles you've already overcome. It reminded you of the times you thought you wouldn't make it, but somehow you did. That quiet strength, that unexplainable endurance, that was faith carrying you through when feelings told you to quit. Faith is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. But just like a muscle, it often grows through resistance. Every challenge, every negative feeling that rises up against you is an opportunity to strengthen your faith. When anxiety tries to grip your heart, you practice faith by speaking calm and truth over your life. When despair tries to pull you into darkness, you practice faith by choosing to see even the smallest glimmer of light. It's not easy, and it's not instant, but every time you respond to feelings with faith, you're building resilience. We live in a world that tells us to follow our feelings, to trust them above everything else. But feelings can be deceptive. They can be influenced by fear, past pain, or even temporary setbacks. Faith looks beyond the surface. It sees not just where you are, but where you're going. It holds on to promises that feelings cannot see. That's why faith often feels uncomfortable. It asks you to step forward without the reassurance of emotions that agree with you. It tells you to believe before you see, to trust before you feel secure, to move forward even when every feeling tells you to run back to safety. There's a difference between feeling unworthy and knowing you are worthy. There's a difference between feeling like a failure and knowing you were created for purpose. Faith is the bridge between what you feel and what you know to be true deep down. And every time you cross that bridge, you weaken the hold negative feelings have on you. Sometimes faith means standing still when you feel like running. Sometimes it means speaking words of life over yourself when you feel broken and empty. Sometimes it means stepping into opportunities that scare you because you know they're part of your calling. Feelings may fight you every step of the way, but faith keeps you moving, keeps you growing, keeps you becoming who you are meant to be. Think about moments in your past where your feelings told you something was impossible, yet here you are on the other side. That is proof that feelings are not facts. You might have felt unqualified, but you made it through. You might have felt unloved, but love found you again. You might have felt like the pain would never end, but healing began. Faith saw what feelings couldn't. It saw the strength you didn't know you had. It saw the path you couldn't see while standing in the darkness. Faith also teaches you to let go of control. Negative feelings often come from trying to manage everything, to have all the answers, to fix every problem on your own. But faith says, I don't have to know every step. I just have to trust the one who designed me for this journey. That trust allows you to release fear, to stop clinging to what's safe, and to step into what's meant for you. When you walk by faith, negative feelings lose their authority. Fear might still knock on your door, but it can't move in. Doubt might whisper in your ear, but it can't take root in your mind. Hopelessness might visit, but it doesn't get the final say. Faith speaks louder. It says, I was created for this. I was made to overcome. I was designed to rise above every feeling that tells me I can't. Faith creates a new internal dialogue. Instead of saying, I feel overwhelmed, you begin to say, I am equipped to handle this. Instead of saying, I feel weak, you declare, there is strength in me greater than this moment. And even when your feelings haven't caught up yet, you keep speaking, you keep believing, you keep choosing faith until your emotions align with the truth you've been standing on. When life feels like it's spinning out of control, when every emotion inside you is screaming that you're losing the battle, faith steadies you. It plants your feet on solid ground and reminds you that you're not defined by this moment. You are defined by the purpose you were created for and the promise that no feeling, no circumstance, and no fear can erase. The conversations you have with yourself in the quiet moments of your life are shaping the way you see everything around you. When you wake up in the morning and your first thought is, I can't do this, that inner voice sets the tone for your entire day. When you step into a room believing, I don't belong here, it changes the way you carry yourself, how you speak, and even the opportunities you allow yourself to take. The dialogue you repeat internally is powerful. It can either be the chains that hold you captive or the key that unlocks freedom. Many people don't even realize how much control they've handed over to negative self-talk because it's been running like background noise for years. Every negative feeling we experience is often fueled by words we've spoken to ourselves long before we ever face the situation. A thought like, I'm not good enough, doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's been whispered repeatedly in your inner dialogue until it became a belief. And beliefs shape behavior. If you believe you're not enough, you'll hesitate to chase your dreams. If you believe you're unworthy of love, you'll settle for relationships that don't honor you. If you believe you're destined to fail, you'll give up before you even start. But here's the truth. Those words you've been repeating to yourself are not unchangeable. You have the power to rewrite the script. Just as negative dialogue has shaped your feelings and actions in the past, positive and empowering dialogue can reshape your future. The words you speak internally are seeds. When you plant doubt, you grow fear. When you plant faith-filled, affirming words, you grow confidence and resilience. Think about how much time you spend talking to yourself silently every single day. Studies show that most people have tens of thousands of internal thoughts daily, and many of those are self-directed messages. Imagine what could happen if even half of those words were intentional, uplifting, and aligned with who you truly are instead of who your pain told you to be. Imagine waking up and instead of saying, I can't handle today, you start declaring, I was made for today and I have everything I need to succeed. Over time, those repeated affirmations would start shifting your mindset, reshaping your emotions, and rewriting the narrative you live by. Rewriting your inner dialogue doesn't mean you ignore reality or pretend challenges don't exist. It means you choose to speak truth over yourself instead of letting fear and past wounds dictate your words. You can acknowledge difficulty while still affirming your strength. For example, instead of saying, this is impossible, you can say, this is challenging, but I am equipped to figure it out. Instead of saying, I always mess things up, you can say, I'm still learning, and every step brings me closer to improvement. These small shifts in language begin to rewire your brain and change how you perceive yourself and your circumstances. One of the most destructive patterns of negative inner dialogue is labeling yourself by your mistakes or shortcomings. You might tell yourself, I'm a failure, I'm lazy, or I'm not smart enough. And every time you repeat those words, they sink deeper into your identity. But you are not your mistakes. You are not defined by a single failure, a bad decision, or a season of struggle. When you rewrite your inner dialogue, you separate your identity from your actions. You start saying, I made a mistake, but I'm capable of learning and growing. You begin to replace permanent, self-limiting statements with temporary, hope-filled ones that remind you of your ability to change and rise. Another way to transform your inner dialogue is through intentional reflection. You have to become aware of what you've been telling yourself. Take moments during the day to pause and listen to your thoughts. If you notice phrases like, I'm not worthy, I can't do this, or things never work out for me, Don't just let them pass unnoticed. Confront them. Ask yourself, who told me this? Why do I believe it? Is it actually true? Many times you'll find that those words were planted by someone else's criticism, rejection, or misunderstanding of who you are. When you recognize that, you can consciously decide to uproot those words and plant new ones that reflect your true value. Replacing negative dialogue with positive, empowering words requires consistency. Just as old messages became ingrained through repetition, new messages must be repeated often to take root. Daily affirmations can help. Start and end your day speaking life over yourself. Say things like, I am strong enough to overcome this. I am worthy of love and success. I have divine purpose inside of me. And I am growing and becoming everything I was created to be. Even when you don't fully believe it yet, speak it. Words are powerful. They can lead your feelings instead of following them. Visualization can also support this transformation. When you imagine yourself thriving, overcoming, and walking confidently in your purpose, your inner dialogue starts to align with that image. Instead of replaying memories of failure, create mental pictures of victory and progress. Speak to yourself as if those images are already reality. This doesn't just inspire you, it retrains your subconscious mind to believe in possibilities instead of limitations. Another crucial step in rewriting your inner dialogue is forgiveness, both of yourself and others. As long as you hold on to guilt or resentment, your self-talk will be colored by pain. You'll keep saying, I'm not lovable, or I can't trust anyone, because old wounds are feeding those words. Forgiveness releases that grip. When you forgive yourself for past mistakes, you free your inner voice to speak with compassion instead of condemnation. When you forgive others, you silence the echoes of their hurtful words and make room for affirmations that heal and restore you. Surrounding yourself with positive, affirming voices also influences your inner dialogue. The people you spend time with can either reinforce the negative story you've been telling yourself or help you write a new one. Listen to mentors, friends, and teachers who remind you of your strength and potential. Engage with messages, books, and teachings that inspire growth and faith. Over time, the external voices of encouragement you allow in will become part of your own internal dialogue. As you commit to rewriting your self-talk, you'll notice changes in the way you carry yourself. Confidence will begin to rise where there used to be insecurity. Courage will start to replace fear. You'll take risks you once avoided because your inner dialogue now says, I can handle whatever comes my way. You'll also find it easier to extend kindness to others because you're no longer battling a storm of self-criticism inside. The freedom you create internally will naturally overflow into the way you live, work, and build relationships. Ultimately, changing the way you speak to yourself is an act of reclaiming your power. Negative feelings lose their strength when they're no longer fueled by self-defeating words. Every new phrase of encouragement, every affirmation of strength, every declaration of purpose is a step toward transforming not only your emotions but your entire life. The story you've been repeating in your mind doesn't have to continue as it's been written. You hold the pen now, and with every word of faith, hope, and love you speak internally, you're creating a future that reflects who you truly are and who you're still becoming. There is a power inside you that you may not even fully recognize yet. Life has a way of convincing us that strength is something we have to find outside of ourselves. We search for people to validate us, for circumstances to change so that we can feel strong, for someone else to tell us we're capable. But the truth is, you were born with everything you need to rise, to heal, to create, to overcome. That power has been sitting within you all along, waiting for you to acknowledge it, to trust it, and to activate it. From the moment you were created, you were given gifts, abilities, and resilience that were tailor-made for the life you would live. That inner power is not something reserved for a select few. It's part of your divine design. Sometimes, because of fear or past pain, we silence that power. We let negative feelings bury it under layers of self, doubt, insecurity, and hesitation. But even when you've ignored it, even when you've believed lies about yourself, that power has never left you. It's still there, quietly waiting for the moment you decide to tap into it. Activating your inner power starts with recognizing that you are not as limited as you've been made to believe. Every time you've endured something that seemed impossible, every time you've picked yourself up after falling, every time you've surprised yourself with courage you didn't know you had, that was evidence of your inner power at work. You might have thought you were just surviving, but survival takes strength. Resilience takes power. What you've been calling barely making it has actually been you demonstrating a level of endurance many people never see in themselves. To activate this power intentionally, you have to shift your focus inward. Too often we look for outside solutions to internal battles. We think if we change our environment, if we wait for someone else to rescue us, or if we just hope hard enough, things will get better. But real transformation begins inside. It starts when you recognize that you already carry the wisdom, creativity, and strength to face what's in front of you. You don't need to wait for a perfect moment or someone's permission. The key is already in your hands. You simply have to use it. One of the ways to access this power is by silencing the voices of fear and comparison. Fear tells you you can't handle this, while comparison says you're not as capable as they are. Both are lies meant to distract you from the truth, that you have a unique, powerful capacity designed specifically for your journey. When you stop letting fear and comparison dictate your choices, you allow your inner strength to emerge. You begin to make decisions based not on insecurity but on conviction and purpose. This power also comes alive when you step outside of your comfort zone. Growth and strength are rarely developed in safety. It's when you push yourself into new challenges, take risks that scare you, and face the unknown that your hidden capabilities are revealed. Think of times in your life when you were forced into situations you didn't think you could handle. Maybe a sudden change, a loss, or an unexpected responsibility. At first, you might have doubted yourself, but as you moved through it, you discovered resilience and creativity you never knew you had. That same potential still exists in you now, but it requires you to take bold steps for it to fully awaken. Another aspect of activating inner power is trusting your intuition. There's a guiding voice within you, a deep knowing that often whispers the next step you should take. But many times we ignore it because it doesn't align with logic, or we're afraid of what others will think. Your intuition is part of your divine wiring. It's one of the ways that inner power speaks to you. When you start listening to it, trusting it, and allowing it to guide your actions, you unlock pathways that fear would have otherwise kept you from seeing. Inner power is also strengthened through discipline and focus. Power without direction can feel wasted or dormant. When you begin to align your daily habits, your mindset, and your actions with your greater purpose, you channel that power effectively. Discipline builds confidence because every time you commit to growth, every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you reinforce the belief that you can rely on your own strength. Over time, this creates unstoppable momentum. Your inner power is deeply connected to faith as well. There are moments when you won't see how things will work out. Everything in your environment might tell you it's impossible, yet something inside you says, keep going. That something is your inner power fused with faith. It's the voice that doesn't quit, the spark that keeps burning even when the wind of adversity tries to snuff it out. When you nurture that spark by believing in a purpose bigger than your present struggle, you ignite an inner fire that negative feelings cannot extinguish. Another key to activating this power is learning to speak life over yourself. Words have creative power. When you repeatedly tell yourself, I'm weak, you suppress the strength within you, but when you begin to say, I am capable, I am prepared, I am powerful, you awaken parts of yourself that have been dormant. Speaking life is not about pretending you don't face challenges. It's about calling forth the courage and strength to rise above them. This is how you begin to align your internal belief system with the power that's been there all along. Service to others can also awaken your inner power. Sometimes you don't realize the strength you have until you use it to uplift someone else. When you encourage another person, guide them through a struggle you've overcome, or simply show compassion where there's pain, You tap into a reservoir of power you might not have known existed. Serving others reminds you that your experiences, your lessons, and your resilience are not wasted. They are evidence of your ability to create change and impact lives. Your inner power is not loud or boastful. It doesn't always look like confidence on the outside. Sometimes it's quiet determination, the ability to endure, the strength to keep believing when no one else does. It's the wisdom to choose peace instead of chaos, the courage to forgive when anger feels easier, and the boldness to dream when circumstances tell you to settle. This kind of power isn't something you earn, it's something you already have. The journey is about uncovering it, trusting it, and using it to step into the life you were designed to live. Every time you overcome a negative feeling, every time you break through fear or refuse to be controlled by doubt, you activate another layer of that power. It's like peeling back layers of limitation to reveal the unshakable force within you. That force doesn't just help you survive challenges. It enables you to transform them into stepping stones toward purpose. The more you tap into it, the more unstoppable you become, not because life gets easier, but because you've awakened to who you truly are. Someone created with extraordinary resilience, divine wisdom, and limitless strength.